Recording in progress.
Present.
Chair, we have 6 members on the platform, Chair. We're correct, and we can proceed with business of the day, Chair.
Thank you very much. If you can just share with us the agenda, then can we get the mover and seconder for the agenda?
Mr. Kigaba moves, sir.
Thank you, sir. Honorable Kigaba moves, and the seconder for the.
Second.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mdluli second. Thank you very much. Are there any apologies, Andre?
Chair, we have an apologies from Mr. Thrink, Mr. Langa, Mr. Msizani, and Mr. Gama, Chair.
Okay. Others probably will join us. Okay. Thank you very much. We now move to the formal consideration of the report of the amendment or revised APP 24-25, as well as the second and the third quarter financial and non-financial performance of DTIC 24-25. I will now hand over to Andre and the team to take us through.
Thank you, Chair. We will assume that members have read the detailed report. We will focus purely on the conclusions that were submitted by parties, Chair. For the amended and revised APP, only 2 parties submitted concluding remarks for consideration, that is the ANC and BOSA. Shall I proceed to go through that, Chair, and members will conclude after each point? Okay?
Yes, please.
Having considered the information shared and reports from DTIC with respect to its amended APP, the committee has reached the following conclusions. The committee was satisfied with the quality and streamlining of amendments to the APP to ensure that the KPIs were linked to actual service delivery and their impact on the economy. However, it was concerned that there was no indication of whether the DTIC has consulted the AG or South Africa over the amendments to its performance targets. It thus requested the DTIC to consider ensuring the future amendments to undergo such a consultation process.
Mr. Chance?
Chair, I wish to point out that I did send the DA's submissions. I sent 2 emails to Zakwanda. She confirmed one, but she didn't confirm the other one. So somehow something has slipped through the cracks. So I did send it through, and it's a bit disappointing that it's not included in this report. I'm looking at my email as we speak, and it's proposed conclusions, recommendations, amended APP report.
Yes.
So that was sent at 10:19 on Monday. So I'm not sure how we're going to handle this, but that's the fact.
Okay. Yes, Andre?
Would you like me to send them to you, Andre?
Yes, please, Mr. Chance. And Chair, in future, that all communication regarding members should be directed to me directly, not to Zakwanda or Margot, so that we avoid this kind of challenge going forward, Chair. Chair, may I propose, Chair, that we receive Mr. Chance's input, and let us consider the second and third quarter report that includes all recommendations, and then maybe take a break for 10-20 minutes to import Mr. Chance's concluding remarks to the APP, Chair. That's in order with the committee.
Okay, can I get a seconder for this idea? I think it sounds correct because we need to be all-inclusive in our consideration.
A second.
Thank you very much. Member, second. Oh, that's fine. So we can then go directly to the second and the third quarter. Andre, yes, over to you.
Chair, we have the draft conclusions. That was Margot. Is that the color-coded one, Margot?
Yes, Andre.
Okay. These includes the input from the ANC, the DA, and the IFP chairperson, if I'm correct. Those are 3 parties. The committee noted the low growth track with the South African economy has been stuck in for a number of years. While it acknowledged the structural challenges identified by the DTIC and the steps being taken to address these, It remains of the view that the necessary investment should be made to overcome these, and that the DTIC should facilitate a conducive environment for businesses to make such investments, consequently stimulating growth.
Any comments? I'm fine with that.
Yeah, Chair, it's just with your permission,
Yes, please.
My suggestion would be that we rephrase just to say the committee noted the low growth trap in which the South African economy has been stuck for a number of years.
No problem, Chair.
So you remove the second in.
Okay.
After stuck in, yeah, you remove that one.
Okay.
Mm.
Is it captured, Andre?
It's captured, Chair. It's captured, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We then go to the second one.
It also welcomed the development of a comprehensive industrial policy to place South Africa on a higher growth path. Furthermore, it supported the extension of such a policy to include interventions on critical minerals, digitization, and economic diversification opportunities. It agreed that the approach should be balanced by maintaining the existing industries while facilitating the development of new industries.
Any comments on the second conclusion?
My hand is up, Chair, with your permission.
Yes, Member Kigaba.
I think the question I have is whether the industrial policy, you see, when we say we welcome the development, the question I have is whether this comprehensive industrial policy is already developed or it's in the process of development. And I think we need to be clear there, because if we leave it as the development, anybody reading this would presume that it's already developed. And from what we heard from the Deputy Minister, it's in the process. The second
that's correct, Chair.
The second comment is on the second, the last sentence in this paragraph. My suggestion would be that we add that the committee is of the view that such industrial policy must be supported by a pro-growth fiscal policy. Because in the absence of a fiscal policy that supports growth and is expansionary, then we are unlikely to have a successful, if I may put it like that, a successful industrial policy. It does need to be supported by a fiscal policy that would facilitate growth.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Chance,
Member Chance?
Yes, I agree with Member Kigaba, but I'd like to also suggest that we add an interdepartmental pro-growth policy, not just pro-growth fiscal policy, because as we pointed out yesterday in the meeting, it can't just be one department that drives growth. All policies in government have to be pro-growth.
Okay. Yeah. Why can't you use government-wide or something like that so that to avoid departments?
Yeah, fine, government-wide.
Yeah, government-wide. Okay, that's fine. So can I just make sure that so when we talk about the where is the paragraph now? Sorry, just once again. We talk about minerals, and so when we talk about diversification opportunities, does it, because for instance, if you follow the discussion we had yesterday, we're basically saying that industrial policy is not longer going to be a 1945 post-1945 industrial policy. We must take into account new development, including the fourth industrial revolution. So does it cover that with certainty where we say diversification opportunities? Is that our general understanding as the membership? of the portfolio committee? Or do we need to be specific? If you can just guide me there. Colleagues, are you there?
Yeah, if I can just give you my 2 cents. I think it might be worth expanding on the word digitization.
Maybe, yeah.
And just digitization and fourth industrial revolution, just by adding that element to it.
Okay. And if you can just assist us just to make sure that you can capture. Otherwise, okay. So that's fine. Then we can go to number 3.
Number 3 is submitted by the Democratic Alliance Chair. However, the committee was concerned that there was a lack of clarity on how sector-specific master plans align with the broader goals like green industrialization and decarbonization within the context of the National Industrial Policy Framework, which was being developed. It urged the DTIC to expedite the finalization and publication of the new Industrial Policy Framework, ensuring clear alignment with master plans and sector-specific interventions, including green technologies, electric vehicles, and digital manufacturing.
Any comments? Obviously, I think one of the limitations is that we have not been fully appraised of the industrial policy, and we're making this conclusion on the basis of a lot of assumption on our side, because one will think that the master plans as they are, they will form the basis of the industrial policy framework that we're advocating for. So I'm not sure, Member Chance, if you have had a site, and then maybe you can just take us into confidence so that we can see how we move forward.
I'd like to ask Honourable Mdluli to comment on that, because this was actually his suggestion.
Member Mdluli?
Chair.
Yes, over to you.
Yes, Chair. So basically, the whole point is that there's lack of clarity on the sector-specific master plans, and I think that we should be brought into confidence with regards to that. So that's the whole emphasis, and I stand to be corrected, Chair, but I think that we will have a meeting with the departments to get some clarity, for example, on the sugar master plan. So I was trying to highlight maybe things like those, that we still need some clarity on the master plans and how they align, like with the broader, the DTIC. So that's the whole point of this, but in this case, I focus, like on green, on green industrialization, green technologies, electric vehicles, as well as digital manufacturing.
Yeah, I think if I can just chip in, I think the key word here is alignment, Chair. In other words, there's got to be alignment. We can't have one set of policies and master plans and another one in industrial policy. Yes. That's, I think, what Honourable Mdluli was getting at.
Okay, I think we can delete this paragraph, because if you look at point 2, is exactly what we were saying. That's why I was asking, what do we do? Because remember, the formulation that Honourable Gigaba gave us on the fact that it is underdeveloped, it is under development, the policy, and we are then saying these are the things to ensure that there is alignment. And I think the second recommendations here, and then it's conclusion. Sorry, it covers this particular point that Honourable Mdluli is trying to cover it, so that we are not seen to be all over. And of course, as and when there's an opportunity for us to expand on, just to make sure we don't leave issues out, we can do that. For now, this point presupposes that the industrial policy as being developed is devoid of these things that are being mentioned here, instead of anticipating or using the phrase that you are using, Honourable Chance, to say just a greater coordination. I think for me those would be the issues. Honourable Fefe? Honourable Mgudu?
No, Chair, thank you. No, I agree with you, Chair, that the assumption with this paragraph is that there is an industrial policy, but it lacks clarity on how sector-specific master plans are aligned. So I'm saying the point 2, I think the issue of alignment is captured in the paragraph 2. But maybe what we can do is to find a way to integrate maybe the word master plans in point 2. So I'm trying to check. Yes, because the master plans are there and they are sector specific already.
Yes.
So I think we can just find a way to integrate the alignment with master plans in point 2, and I think for me that would capture the whole paragraph 3.
Yes, Andre, can you then reread so that we can then have a agreement on the formulation? That's the point 2. And then remember, Mdluli, if there is further comment, you then have to come in just to make sure we're together.
Okay, I'd say that I'm happy with the honorable members, and I think that it makes more sense to be moved to point 2. So I'm happy with Andre's edits. I'm just currently going through them, but I'm happy, and I do agree that it makes no sense to have it in separate paragraphs. So it means basically the same thing.
Perfect. Thank you very
Can I
much.
read it, or are we in order, Chair?
Yes, we are in order. No need to read. So the member
Okay,
is
no problem. Okay. Then point 3, the new point 3, the committee encourages DTIC to proactively analyze changes in the market and to take requisite preemptive measures where possible to mitigate expected economic contractions.
Any comments? Okay, we seem to be fine there. We can pass to number 4, which is where it was originally 5.
Chair, we combine the inputs from all parties, Chair.
Yes, let's read all of it.
Yeah. Given the substantive investment the DTIC provides through its industrial centers, the committee urged the DTIC to factor in the return on investments along the value chain, particularly in relation to the numbers of jobs created when it considered application. It was cognizant of technological advancements and the shift to automation, and thus the need to consider the broader supply chain. While there was a need to support and maintain existing jobs, it was of the view that a greater emphasis should be placed on job creation and that the DTIC should actively pursue the development of local value chains that could also be leveraged in terms of inclusive economic growth. It therefore encouraged the DTIC to consider disaggregating its reporting to distinguish between jobs created and jobs retained to enhance performance assessments. Furthermore, the committee was of the view that the new potentially high-growth businesses should be supported to address the relatively low number of new jobs projected to be created.
Comments, members? There seem to be proper alignment here. I don't know. Any comments?
Not on my side, Chair.
I think we're fine. Yeah, it's very consistent. I think we are good. We go to 6, which is now 5.
Chair, furthermore, it requested the DTIC to submit its annual incentive report to it by no later than tabling of the 4th quarter performance report. The report should detail the specific sectors supported, financial amounts disbursed, and jobs created versus jobs retained.
What are we trying to achieve with this conclusion? Member Chance, what is the essence?
I think the essence is to put a timeline on it. In other words, we want to see a specific report by a certain time from the department, rather than just have it, as a conclusion. It could be a recommendation rather than a conclusion.
Chair, can I just jump on that as well? If you remember.
Yes, Member Mdluli. We are missing you. If you can start from scratch, please.
Okay, yes, thanks, Chair. So my connection is pretty unstable, but I want to say, Chair, that if you remember in yesterday's committee meeting, the Deputy Minister did actually commit to maybe, providing us with a detailed, like a detailed report, on this, Chair. So yeah, so I want to add that as well. So I think maybe we can leave it in the conclusion, but if you see fit that we should move to the other section, then that's fine, Chair.
Can't we make this as a recommendation maybe, because it's a specific issue really?
I think it should be in recommendations on reflection. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, so we move it to recommendations. We now go to 7. I don't know what's your numbering will be.
Mark, we just
Yes.
highlight that in bold, Mark, and we move it to conclusion.
Okay. Andre, but procedurally, that would
Oh,
mean
yes.
that the
Yes, yes,
House
Chair.
needs to receive it, and we wouldn't get
Yes,
it directly.
on that basis, Chair, we would suggest that it remains as because it's purely administrative in nature, Chair. That we rather not move it to the recommendations.
Why?
It's because it's administrative in nature in terms of that. But if the committee feels strongly, we can put it there. But we would suggest it rather remains a concluding remark that we can follow up on itself. It's purely internal. It's when the report's going to be published, Chair. There's nothing. It's not a policy decision or anything to that effect that needs to be.
Okay, that's fine. We can leave it there. That's okay. Let's move to the next one.
The committee was of the view that the DTIC should place an equal focus on investment promotion to attract domestic direct investment, as there is a skewed focus on foreign direct investment.
Okay.
Supported.
All good.
So any comments? We are fine. The next one.
In addition, it was of the view that DTIC should improve alignment of Invest SA with the Presidential Investment Summit Secretariat to prevent duplication, ensure robust pipeline tracking, and provide quarterly updates on progress made in realizing pledged investments to ensure synergy in relation to investment promotion.
I think let's try and rephrase, Member Chance, because we shouldn't. So our conclusion shouldn't. What is the right word? Intrude into the work of the executive, right? Mm-hmm. But rather it should complement, and because this sounds like we're giving a directive on what should happen between the presidency and the so for me, I will draw the word like alignment in a way, right? To improve alignment, and this I will actually link to the previous previous point, so that it comes across as one. Yeah, the point just above. So I'll just take this up, and then, if possible, we'll maybe avoid some of the wording on the because on the wording that will give almost like a directive, I think. So because it gives a sense of overreach. I don't know what is your take, but Chancellor.
Yeah. Well, I think constitutionally, Chair, we must remember that the executive is reports to the legislature, not the other way around. So I think that the legislature has absolutely the right to make suggestions. This is not a directive as such, and I think it's perfectly legitimate that it makes that recommendation or concludes along the lines that we've put into this. You know, I don't think we should be seen as being supplicants to the executive. That's not our job at all.
No, not really, Mr. Chance. And I think it's a point of debate at this point because, for instance, if it was as clear as you suggest in the meeting now, you'll recall, for instance, not in so distant future where we had to, the parliament was able to conclude its business on time, but because of the discussions that were taking place at the level of the executive in terms of the nature of government, we could not even do simple things like forming portfolio committees because we didn't know how government was going to look like. So if you take that in that context, I am arguing that we could still achieve the same in the same context as you were saying, without sounding like we're giving directive to the executive and the president. I think that's the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah, I think that Andre has made that change by suggesting should consider improving. So in other words, it's not a directive.
What is the take from other members?
If I can just also chip in, Chair, if you do recall, yes. I can't remember exactly which meeting it was, but remember we did ask the minister if the trillion rand or so that has been declared by the Presidential Investment Summit included the information from the DTIC, and they said it did. But I think all this conclusion is just saying that we need to know where they're coming from. And there can't be duplication. I think it's an important point that that particularly as the fact that the DTIC is the lead in the economic ministry. This is something that they certainly can provide, so as to not so as to avoid duplication and comprehensive information coming through.
You see, the only limitation, Member Chance, that I'm grappling with, and I'm really trying to crack my head, is that the investment decisions happen across government. It's not just between Invest SA and Presidential Summit, right? In provinces, in municipalities, in departments, when then there's a lot of work that is happening in agriculture, in mining, and so on and so on. And not all work is coordinated in those two specific areas of Invest SA and Presidential Investment Summit. And the Presidential Investment Summit is not necessarily it's an initiative. It's not the arm of government. It's an initiative of the presidency. So that's why I'm battling with citing these two as if the assumption that investment occurs at those two levels. I would like other members to assist us so that we don't have a dialogue and then see what is the most closest we can do in the formulation. Members? Member Kigaba?
Yes, thanks, Chair. I'm sorry, I'm trying to read this sentence. This proposed new paragraph. Well, I suppose that to the extent that we are both making conclusions and recommendations, though they are in separate sections, that it doesn't really hurt or detract from our mandate, nor infringe on the executive responsibility to suggest the alignment of Invest SA programs with the work of the Presidential Investment Summit. I don't know to what extent do we know whether it's not aligned at the moment. And so that's why I'm a bit That's why I'm a bit uncertain as to what we are saying, so that we don't say. Perhaps what we should rather say is that the DTIC should ensure requisite alignment between the work of the DTI of Invest SA with the Presidential Investment Summit. I think that would address the concerns that you are raising, Chair, whilst also including the points that Honorable Chance is making. Thank you.
Member Mdluli, any comments?
Chair, there's none from our side at this stage, but my connection is a bit of a problem, so I got kicked out there for a few good minutes where I was trying to change my connection spot. So I did get the conversation, but I think that this was agreed in the committee. So if maybe we can find a way to to maybe put better so that it's clear, maybe that's where the problem is. There's lack of clarity on this from some members, but from our side, I don't see a problem with this, Chair. I think it's clear, because I mean these are things that we are aligned with, that we do need investments, and it should all be it should all be in a manner that is how can I put it, in the manner that is in a manner that is streamlined, Chair. So I think that Invest SA and the Presidential Investment Summit secretariat, should be in synergy, to actually ensure this, Chair. So yeah, I mean, from my side, I'm happy, Chair.
Okay. Member Sophia. Is she still there? Member Lufefe?
No, Chair, I'm fine with your input and Honorable Kikawa's input. I don't want to belabor the points that you made. Thanks.
Yeah, the only slight challenge I have, because I hear the point, is that I'm just struggling to reconcile between the line department and the initiative in the presidency. Because those two, for me, are, as we say, those are operational. That investment summit secretariat is a function of the overall work, because the president has got the responsibility to assist the country in terms of the stature of the office to attract investment. Whereas the DTIC as a line department is got a direct responsibility in coordinating that work, working together with the president. So I just have a slight problem in almost sounding like in reconciling the two, because if it was between the two departments and we're talking alignment, it's easy to agree. But between the line department and the secretariat, which is an administrative arm of the presidency, I have a problem. Andre, I'm not sure how you can assist us legally here, so that we can make it.
I guess, Chair.
Yes,
Chair, how I'm reading. Oh, sorry.
Yes, you can come in.
I guess, Chair, how I'm reading this is that the attempt here is to make a point about coherence in the investment strategy. That's how I'm reading it. Because it says alignment of investment SA with Presidential Summit. Then it goes on to say to ensure robust, to prevent duplication and to ensure robust. So for me is, I guess the point we're trying to make is there must be coherency between the investment promotion of the department and the presidential investment priorities, which would have been derived in the summit. So I think it's that coherence. This is how I'm reading it, Chair, and I think probably Andre must help us.
Can I make a suggestion, Chair, on the wording?
Yes.
And I agree with the comments Mr. Mkutu says. Maybe what we should say is, it was of the view that the DTIC should engage with the Presidential Investment Summit Secretariat to ensure the requisite alignment with Invest SA. So that means that there's no directive. It's saying that let's coordinate the information that is derived from both entities.
Okay. So how do we okay, that's fine.
Yes, to engage with the Presidential Investment Summit to ensure the requisite alignment correct. That's how it is. And I think the other point, Chair, is to mention that we're asking the department to assert itself as the lead economic ministry. This is what we're trying to do. We're saying the department is the lead economic ministry. Now do your job.
That's fine. But so then how do we cover the last aspect? I think we're closer to each other now. How do we cover the last aspect of other areas that are concerned with investment in the sector departments? Because then with this,
I see no reason why we shouldn't include those as another clause in the sentence. So in other words, to ensure the requisite alignment with Invest SA and other sector investments, or something along those lines.
Chair.
Okay. Yes, Member Buffer.
Remember, there is an industrial policy that is being developed, and I suppose areas of investment or investment priorities will flow out of the industrial policy. I'm trying to be systematic now in terms of dealing with this matter. So I think when we talk about investment, we must find a way to align it to the industrial policy. I don't know if I'm making sense, Chair.
I think
so that what Mr. Chance is saying, that we are the department is a leader in economic development and growth. Also, it must set investment priorities. And I think that's what we're trying to say. But I want to add a point that says, as it sets investment priorities, it must be consistent with the industrial policy.
Chair, if I can just say,
there must be that link.
This
that
paragraph
make,
is about reporting on investment. It's not about policy. It's reporting on investment commitments made. Whether they're aligned with policy is another matter. But what this paragraph is doing is it's saying we want a coordinated reporting of investment commitments and actual investments made. It's related to policy, but it's not a policy.
Then that's what we should say, Mr. Chance, that we want there must be proper coordination and a tracking tool must be developed to trace investment. Where was it? To trace investment commitments. So there must be coordination between the Presidential Investment Summit and the DTIC investment priorities to track investment commitments. I think that's exactly what we should say.
And the last sentence, realized pledged investments. It's the last sentence is also important, not just the pledges, it's the realization of those pledges.
Yes, I'm saying that's exactly what we should say. Then we should not try and bring in other things that we don't want to say. If we're saying the issue here is the coordination between the Presidential Investment Summit and the lead, which is the DTIC, and how then do we coordinate that work? Also, how do we ensure that we track implementability of those commitments? That's exactly what we should say.
Yeah. Agreed.
Thanks.
Chair, shall we read what we have, Chair?
You can now take out the last sentence. Because yeah. So monitor and report on.
Andrew, you can read now the formulation so that from start
I'll
to
read
finish.
from the top, Chair. The committee was of the view that the DTIC should place an equal focus on investment promotion to attract domestic direct investment, as there is a skewed focus on foreign direct investment. In addition, it was of the view that the DTIC should engage with the Presidential Investment Summit Secretariat to ensure the requisite alignment with Invest SA to prevent duplication and to ensure robust pipeline tracking to effectively monitor and report on the realization of investment commitments.
Do you not want to remove the secretariat stuff as the chair?
Are we happy?
Okay.
Colleagues?
Yeah.
Are we fine?
Yes, Chair. I'm happy on my side.
Okay.
Shall we continue, Chair?
Yes, please.
While the committee welcomed the development of a strategy regarding South Africa's critical mineral, it remained of the view that this mineral should be leveraged as a national asset to promote direct investment and more favorable trade conditions during negotiations.
Member Lefevre?
Old hand, maybe, Chair? Yeah.
It was an old hand, Chair.
Okay. Any comment?
Shall we proceed, Chair?
Yes, I think we...
Sorry, Chair. My suggestion would be that now that we've adopted this paragraph, I want to request that we rephrase it so that it's consistent and it follows. Because the first part of the paragraph welcomes the approach to find sustainable solutions and calls for an intervention that will be beneficial to broader industry. The proposal from the MK suggests that we have a sector-wide strategy to revitalize the industry. So we might run the risk, and then the third part talks again of a full revitalization strategy. So there's a lot of repetition. I want to suggest through you, Chair, to Andre, that now that we've adopted these 4 points to the paragraph, that we compress them into a simple paragraph that follows and is consistent. I don't know if you get me. The red part suggests revitalization, the blue part suggests revitalization, and the earlier part suggested almost the same. So I think that we need to rephrase the paragraph to make it consistent. Thank you. We
are now on 10. The old 10.
8 on the new 8, Chair.
Yeah, but it's an old 10.
Yeah, yes. Old 10 is correct, yes.
Okay, any comment? Do you understand what Honorable Gaba is saying?
We do understand that you probably want to need to compress because it says similar things, Chair.
Okay. We don't want members to say we didn't see, so do you want us to give you a minute to do that so that we can...
So, Chair, we can highlight this and we can do it as part of the other, when we look at Mr. Chance, when we take a break, when you look at Mr. Chance's input on the APP's, Chair, we will then look at that as well at the same time, Chair. Would that be in order?
That's fine.
Okay.
You see, colleagues, we must be very thorough about how we make decisions, right? I spent 7 hours last night, reading the court proceeding, following the court proceeding on the DAEFF VAT matter. I learned a lot of things there on how we must make decisions. So it's important that we take each other into confidence. We can move to the next one. Then we will come back to
very
this one.
important, very important.
Who's that? Is that member Tambo?
Yes, Chair. We must all watch those court proceedings.
Yeah, no, it was very educational. Okay, let's move to the next one.
The committee was concerned by the slow progress in achieving redress in terms of the economic imbalances created under apartheid. It was of the view that black ownership was central to this, and the small pockets of black ownership achieved had not yielded the expected result. In this regard, it agreed that the private sector should be held accountable where the transformation efforts has not yielded meaningful results and has simply been in a compliance exercise, as well as where there has been circumvention of the law. It was particularly concerned that the BEE level certification may not be an accurate picture of the reality on the ground. In this regard, the BEE Commission has an essential role to play to ensure enforcement of the BEE regulatory framework. The committee therefore emphasized that the BEE Commission should be effectively empowered to enforce compliance with BEE legislation.
Are there any comments?
Yes, Chair.
Yes, Honorable Gigaba.
My request is that the second paragraph, the second sentence, which starts with it was of the view, because you see, the first sentence says we're concerned by slow progress in achieving redress in terms of the economic imbalances created under apartheid. Now, if we continue to say we were of the view that black ownership was central to this, it's as if we are blaming black ownership. We are partly blaming black ownership for these economic imbalances. And so I suggest that we just, instead of saying was central to this, we rather say was central to reversing the apartheid era economic injustices. And then we can continue with the paragraph as it is, so that we are clear what we are doing.
That's captured it.
Okay. Any other comments? I think we're good here. We move to the next one.
The next one, furthermore, it supported the DTIC's two-pronged approach to strengthen the regulatory framework, namely, one, to address reporting by listed companies to ensure accurate measurement and monitoring of the actual transformation progress within the private sector, and two, to enhance the verification of the BEE compliance and ensure the efficacy of the current system used to validate BEE claims.
You see, the issue that the committee has been raising is on the scorecard, whether or not those 5 components are actually helpful in the discourse. And that's one of the questions that we raised even yesterday. Because it became very clear, especially when we met with the banks as well as the airline entities, that the reason why when there are no natural persons, people still achieve level 1 BEE is precisely because of the scorecard. So I'm not sure how we can capture that, because I think that's the essence of where we should be making a recommendation on the balanced approach to ensure that while to acknowledge skills development, enterprise development, blah, 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 public procurement and all those things, they should not weigh enough that you could get easily level 1 outside of the natural persons, which is a point that we've been raising. So I just don't know how we can formulate it. Colleagues can come in as well.
Chair, we added with the BEE scorecards, Chair, is to enhance verification of BEE double compliance with the BEE scorecard. Would that address your concern, Chair?
No, I think what the chair is saying is that when you look at the scorecard, and then you talk about equity or ownership, it must outweigh the other variables such as skills and what. That is what the chair is saying. So how do we design a scorecard that speaks on the essence of ownership or partnership within the entity? I think that is what the chair is saying.
Can I ask a question, Chair, through you?
Yes, please.
Chair, are you saying that what Honorable Mkuto has just said, or are you saying that the scorecard in and of itself as a tool is not adequate and there needs to be a different tool? Is it about adjusting or amending the scorecard as it is, or is it about a different tool altogether?
No, look, the issue, the observation we're making is that the tool as it currently stands, with all the 5 scorecard issues, it's not biased towards a physical warm body that we can touch and feel for you to reach, for a company to reach a BE level 1 or 2 for that matter. So basically, effectively trying to call for reforms in the context of the scorecard, such that when you say you weigh your scorecard, you are BE level 1, amongst other things, other than you telling us that there was public procurement, there was skilling, and we should be able to say that here is Miss Webster, who's actually an X percentage. So it shouldn't be that easy to get a level 1 without a warm body. So that's what I was struggling to formulate. And I think Member Fefe, what I was trying to say was just to enhance the idea on what do we say beyond just complaining about the scorecard, because we are complaining but making recommendation for changes so that the scorecard is more biased towards human beings than just the scorecards as it is to fulfill the transformation agenda.
Okay, I've got you.
Chair,
Yes.
may I suggest we look at the next point and see if we can work it into that paragraph?
Okay, you can take us through.
In this regard, the committee urged the DTIC to review the BBB legislation and the implementation thereof to effectively improve and refine the system. They should focus on identifying any requisite amendments or targeted interventions to enhance BBBE and drive greater transformation of the South African economy. Mr. Chance raises his hands, Chair.
Mr. Chance?
Yeah, I think that to a certain extent is covered in a recommendation that the DA made to this report, which we'll come to later. But essentially what we're saying is that there needs to be a comprehensive review of BEE legislation in terms of its impact on the economy, which is pretty much saying the same thing, but it came in a recommendation, not in a conclusion.
Okay, we'll look into that, because I think the emphasis here is to guide. Remember, firstly, so that we are not misunderstood, the components of the scorecard are fine. The only challenge that we have been raising is that the extent to which this component of the scorecards weigh for a firm to arrive at level 1, there is some level of misrepresentation. It's either, if we're using a scale of 1:5 or 1:10, some of the of the equity equivalents or equity issues should be weighing an average. If it was 1:5, an average of 3, for instance, so that when there is no human being who's in the BE deal, even though you've done skills, you've done public procurement, and you should still not be able to reach that threshold that will put you at BE level 1. I'm not sure whether I'm making sense.
The trouble with that proposal, Chair, is that means that multinational companies will never get a level 1 score. And that's not going to be, that won't go down well with these guys at all, because they're never going to sell their shares.
But why did we have the empowerment legislation in the first place?
Yeah, but that's what the equity equivalent is for. That's what the equity equivalent is, to provide companies that are not able or willing to sell shares, and multinational companies, you can't force them to sell shares. Well, you can, but they're not going to come in, they're not going to invest in the country. And the purpose of the 25% is that's the equivalent of the minimum threshold to get a level 1 score if all the other ones hitting maximum points. That's the purpose of the 25% equity equivalent.
No, that's fine. But I'm saying the reality is that there is a distortion. In that's why you're correct when you say all of us are worried. As a result, we are now calling for reforms in this space. And we can't be calling for reforms if we are not intentional about what we want to do to ensure that this BEE scorecard is not just another gimmick in the greater scheme of things. And by no means, so that's why I was using the scales. That if you scale, because I don't think that all international companies must be BEE level 1, I'm sure there are other levels, but there are certain areas. That's why I used an example that we have here at home. The insurance, the airlines as well as the banks, that all the banks, as they were presenting, it became very evident that in whatever they do, they just go and go around the scorecard and arrive at BEE level 1 to an extent that we are unable to question. These are local transactions as a starting point. So we're unable to give full account in terms of how.
Yeah, but with very large companies, Chair, it's very difficult. I mean, individual ownership of these companies is minute. It's tiny. With these huge companies, most of those companies' shares are owned by pension funds and institutions, and because of the composition of those pension funds having a BEE rating, that's then flows through into the ratings of the banks. So it does require a complete rethink of the way the scorecard works. Individual ownership in big companies is virtually non-existent.
Can we have other takers? Colleagues?
Chair, I think we were in agreement with the principle of what you are raising. And I think the technical nitty-gritties of it would be a function of legal advice and other people who have the technical capability around designing these things. So I'm saying if we agree on the principle, which is to effectively drive transformation beyond issues of skills but concretely substantive equity and ownership of Africans in particular and Blacks in general, I think for me that is sufficient. Chair, let's just leave it at a principle level now, and for technical inquiry around it would go and consult the necessary people with the technical capability to help us think it through.
Okay. Are we all okay then?
Fair enough.
Okay. Thank you very much.
So Chair, we're fine with the way it's captured at the moment, 10 and 11, Chair.
Yes.
And we'll, yes, okay, then it's cool. Then we'll go to 12, Chair. The committee was also of the view that the greater emphasis should be placed on the DTIC and government supporting new Black-owned entrants, startups and SMEs into priority sectors rather than continued dependence on equity equivalence and verification mechanisms that did not necessarily translate to actual empowerment.
With the deliberation, do we still need a sentence? I think it adds to the confusion.
Yeah.
Because I think we've tried to clarify ourselves on the two above and we've enriched them. I don't know what's the take of the committee.
Yeah, I think we can remove that paragraph.
I think so too. Otherwise, we'll end up confusing ourselves what we're trying to say. Okay.
In addition, it welcomed the introduction of the Transformation Fund. It was of the view that mobilizing resources across sectors to support inclusive economic growth could be beneficial, as it could enhance enterprise and supplier development. However, it noted that the allocation and disbursement of these funds should be effectively monitored to ensure that the policy objectives are met. It also called for stronger support for township and rural economies through simplified access to DTIC's funding instruments and business development services. So it should be a principle of the Transformation Fund's rollout.
I'm fine with the addition. We can, I think the last one, this should be a cornerstone of Transformation Fund's rollout. I think it just, it's a directive. We can, the stronger point has been made there about rural and so on and so on. Any other takers?
Chair, just to add on the word, in addition, it welcomed. I'm very cautious of this, Chair. Maybe we should rather use the word acknowledged, because I mean we didn't really welcome it, but we acknowledge that it has been introduced.
Okay.
Yeah, I think, Chair, also bear in mind that it's still a concept at this point. And that's why we introduced paragraph 13. If we can just have a look, I agree with Mr. Mduli, acknowledged. And then paragraph 13, which was something that I made the point of yesterday when the Deputy Minister responded by saying that certainly will review the submissions that come through. So we can just
can we also read,
when we consider paragraph 13.
Can we read 13 as well, just so that we are together? We'll deal with both.
The committee urged the DTIC to consider reviewing its implementation plan for the Transformation Fund, taking into account submissions received by the public with funding mechanisms, sector-specific commitments, governance structures, and timelines by the end of the first quarter of the 25-26 financial year.
So what were you trying to get at, Mr. Chance?
What we're trying to say here, Chair, is that the department must consider very carefully the submissions that are received from the public, and particularly from businesses involved in transformation and business development, business support services. And if they don't do that, then they're going to run into trouble with this fund, because they're not going to get cooperation. So that's the first point. And then secondly, we want them to report back by the first quarter of 2025-26, which essentially means by the end of June. That's really giving them time. You know, they'll have the submissions by the 7th of May. We want them to report back by the end of June.
But this fund has not even been approved at this point.
No, understood. But it's what they need to do is they need to submit the submissions. They need to come back with their plan, with their proposal. Not an agreement, but the proposal once the submissions have been reviewed by the end of June. That's what we're saying.
Okay, so let's be specific then, because it sounds as if we are requesting a report of the already running scheme. In this case, still a concept. That's why we agree with changing the word welcome to acknowledge, because it's something in the making. I think let's just correct that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm happy with that change.
Yeah, okay. So are we fine with both the changes that we've made in both, right? Okay. Then we go to the next one, 17, which is now 14.
Furthermore, the committee noted the guiding principles developed by the Competition Commission regarding the development of employee share ownership schemes. However, it implored the Commission to effectively monitor these to ensure that the principles were adopted and that an expert had in fact been used to protect employees' rights.
Any comments?
Happy?
The members are happy. We can move to the next one.
The committee recognized the important role that the agricultural sector plays in the economy, as well as in terms of exports and food security. It noted the challenges such as drought and adverse weather conditions, foot and mouth disease, and shortages of eggs, facing the sector that negatively impacted its growth. It encouraged the DTIC to collaborate with the Department of Agriculture to ensure that the sector becomes more resilient and sustainable.
Where is that now? I think I'm lost. I'm looking at my old
15, new 15.
The old
18. Old 18, Chair.
Okay. I will find it. I can see it now.
Can we proceed, Chair?
Yeah, I think we're fine.
It stressed the importance of agro-processing and biofuels as growth levers for rural economies. Therefore, it encouraged the DTIC to work with other departments to develop an integrated support plan for small-scale farmers and rural entrepreneurs in the agro-processing industry.
But agro-processing is not necessarily only for rural economies. It's for the economy in general. In terms of the agri sector, what is the point that they're trying to make here? Is Member Langa here just to clarify us?
He's not on the platform, Chair. He's submitted an apology, Chair.
Yeah, this paragraph doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I agree with you, Chair. I think that generally growth levers you can take out for rural economies.
Yeah. And you leave the rest because it's obvious that the DTIC works with other departments. It's a given. So you go to agriculture for agricultural related issues, and you go to other sectors. You can delete the rest, and you can interpret that. You can you can be a standalone, and then maybe you can join it with this. There's a point here about sugar industry. The following one.
Okay.
Margot?
Yes, Margot?
Just clarifying, so we're deleting, therefore it encouraged the DTIC, that sentence is being removed.
Yes.
I'll read the next sentence, the new 17, old 20, Chair. In terms of the sugar industry, the committee remained concerned about the impact of the health promotion levy on sugar-sweetened beverages, given its negative impact on the rural economies in the KwaZulu-Natal and Mpumalanga provinces, where sugarcane is grown. While it supported the need for public health initiatives, the imposition of taxes without providing the sector sufficient opportunity to adjust its operations has substantive socioeconomic consequences for these regions that are heavily reliant on sugarcane farming.
Yeah, this is not a balanced conclusion, because we must also separate our role as a sector support vis-a-vis a Department of Health that is seized with dealing with health-related implication of the industry. And the reason why I'm raising this, I remember recently had a meeting with Red Bull. They had a similar, thinking that no, you can't be imposing taxes or how we must produce, but the health department had come to the conclusion for health reasons, and we don't have a capacity where in our end and to condemn health issues because we're not in that particular space. I'm not sure how we can rephrase this properly. I'm fine with us protecting the sugar industry, but venturing into health-related issues, I think it's gonna create problems for us. So we must talk about in consultation. We must talk about the impact in consultation rather. But let's not make definitive on what the view on the sugar as it relates to health as well as it relates to taxes, if there's any. let's talk to those in consultation with relevant structures like joint committee and so on and so on. Does it make sense?
It makes sense, Chair, to me.
Just highlight that, Margo, and we can just do all of that when we do the...
Yeah, I also support you, Chair, on that one. I think without undermining the health issues, we must also not, be so emphatic on the matter as though we were the health department ourselves.
I think we'll make those necessary changes, Andre.
Yeah, we'll do so, Chair. We don't need to be prescriptive on that. On 18, Chair, furthermore, it urged the DTIC to facilitate the unblocking of the necessary regulatory frameworks to enable potential economically viable sugar diversification opportunities, such as sustainable aviation fuels, biofuels, and cogeneration. This process of diversification should also seek to advance economic transformation in rural areas.
Chair, with your permission, Chair, if we go back to the new paragraph 17, should we not rather, well, as one of the things we either in the recommendations or we can put it here, recommend the speedy conclusion of consultations among all relevant role players to remove the uncertainty surrounding the future role of the sector, because it obviously would have an impact on the decision of investors to decide whether to invest in expansion, in diversification, and to what extent they can go in so doing. So I think the sooner your Department of Health, your National Treasury, Agriculture, as well as DTIC could finalize their consultations on the matter to unlock further investments, because if that consultation is finalized and there's clarity as to the direction we are taking, you can then facilitate increased investments. If the decision is that the tax must continue, then the diversification must happen, and investors could then increase their investments in the diversified products.
Okay. Are we okay?
With the way it's captured in the red there, that captured what Mr. Gigaba was saying, Chair?
Okay. I think that's fine with the changes. We can move on.
19, in addition, it noted the slow progress being made in legalizing the commercialization of cannabis and hemp products. While progress has been made through interdepartmental discussion, there was a need to fast-track the removal of legislative bottlenecks hindering the hemp and cannabis industry, especially given the potential to support job creation and export development in rural areas.
Any comments? I must also say that I don't know whether there have been delays or not delays. So those who might have a know-how also needs to help us, so we don't have a wrong formulation. I've not been following.
That is correct. But basically, since the department took over the cannabis master plan from the Department of Agriculture, there's lots of loopholes and flaws in that master plan which cannot be acted upon until cannabis and hemp are removed from the Drugs and Drug Trafficking Act as prescribed substances. So that's the issue here, which needs to be dealt with.
How do you then formulate it correctly so that it sounds the way it is, now that we've got someone who is well vested?
Well, I think that it's essentially saying that it needs to fast track the removal of legislative bottlenecks. This was a an EFF sentence, and I didn't want to change it because I think it's saying what needs to be said.
Okay, so we can accept the.
Yeah, I mean the legislative. We can be a bit more specific about the legislative bottlenecks if we want to, but I mean, I don't think it's necessary necessarily, to put in the, because there are various legislative bottlenecks. So I think that's what we need to just put in as it is.
Okay, so we can leave it the way it is, and then we move to the next one.
I propose, Chair,
Yes.
inclusion. I propose that we add the issue of inclusion, because we shouldn't. A lot of cannabis are farmed in rural areas, and so the issue of rural areas should not just be limited to job creation. Historically, women in rural areas have been involved in this business. Now that it is legalized, we should explore opportunities to ensure that rural people have access to the sector. They are included in the sector.
Yeah, but Chair, cannabis hasn't been legalized. That's the point. Only the personal consumption of cannabis has been legalized. This is what the problem is. This is why there's legislative confusion. Is that you can consume cannabis, but you can't grow and commercialize it. So that's what's hampering development of rural economies.
Okay, but you're not discounting the issue of economic inclusion.
No, not at all.
The window quickly. I'm in a meeting quickly. Get out of the car. See you in front of me.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
I think we do need then maybe to emphasize the issue of the legislation, because that's within our purview. Wherever it is, because those people in either way, they will have to work with us to finalize. And I think it's stated there. It just says it's a bottleneck. So do we want to expand on that, or we leave it the way it is? Are we fine with the
I'm fine with that, Chair. Yeah.
Okay. No, that's fine.
Yeah, no, that's okay. We can include those two that Andre's added, because that is making it more specific.
Okay. No, that's fine. Then we can move to the next one. My old 21. Yes, if you can just read it.
The committee noted the current relationship with the United States of America and its possible impact on South Africa's continued participation in the African Growth and Opportunity Act and the extension thereof. It affirmed government's approach for greater engagement with the United States administration and the use of diplomacy to resolve this impasse. It will continue to monitor the situation. The committee encouraged it. There's a whole Chair. So we continue, Chair?
Yeah, you can continue.
The committee encouraged the DTIC to intensify efforts to secure long-term preferential trade relations with the United States and other partners. Simultaneously, there should be a greater focus placed on strengthening inter-African trade and South-South cooperation to shield South Africa from geopolitical shocks. The committee requests the DTIC to prepare a detailed risk mitigation strategy for the potential non-renewal of AGOA, including alternative trade routes, regional agreements, and sector-specific export incentives to be presented ahead of the July 2025 AGOA Forum.
Okay, so I think that the stance, colleagues, that we need to take, because there's a diplomatic engagement, and so many of us, we shared that statement from both DTIC and DERCO, which represented the country's view, because this is a sensitive area where I would discourage us at this point coming up with or to appear to be coming up with alternatives, but rather focus on the relationship with the US and how we strengthen in that specific area. Because we know that the work is being done on the alternatives somewhere else, and I don't think that it should cloud this particular view, because this becomes the Hansard view, and we want to make sure that we have a seamless voice in terms of how we're approaching the current issues of tariffs. I don't know what will be the take of the DA and IFP.
Yeah, I think that you're spot on there, Chair. I don't have any disagreement with that. Okay,
so let's delete the two paragraphs, the red and the green, for now, and then if there's any specific thing that goes, it's about more emphasis about the US relations, then we can move to the next one.
Thank you, Chair. In terms of special economic zones, the committee encouraged the DTIC to investigate regulatory reform to reduce the overall cost of doing business as part of the Spatial Industrial Development Strategy, as well as to ensure the incentives within special economic zones were readily available across the country. It was of the view that the special economic zones incentives were currently inadequate. This work was expected to attract more investments into these economic zones.
Okay, I am easy. Are there any comments, colleagues?
No.
Okay, so we're good. You can go to the next one.
While the committee acknowledges that SEZs have attracted investment, it remained concerned about the limited job creation impact. It was of the view that the DTIC should strengthen its impact measurements by including temporary, direct and indirect job metrics. Therefore, there should also be more transparent monitoring of jobs created versus jobs retained and the economic impact of investment in special economic zones. Furthermore, the DTIC should clarify the disparities between investment levels and employment outcome.
I have a problem with both issues because we have not been given an SEZ report as a committee. I don't think that we are qualified to make observation because we've not received a presentation specifically. Yes, we visited 4 of the 12 or so, but I don't think that we could be making sweeping statement like this at this point. I would rather have a point, maybe calling for those reports on what has been the investment, the jobs, the trends, and in the ITZ space, so that post this, we can then make firm decisions with regards to our dissatisfaction, because at that point we will have the necessary reports as it talks to this. I don't know what will be the take of other colleagues. Colleagues?
Yeah, I think that's a fair point, Chair. We have a very limited understanding of the SEZs based upon a small oversight visit. And I think that the paragraph 22 then becomes redundant.
Yes. Okay, now we find that.
So
yes.
The way Mark is capturing it, also requested DTIC to submit an overarching report on special economic zones.
Yes. Because that report will then empower us to come to the conclusion about it. So the new 22, we delete it.
Delete.
Yeah.
No problem, Chair.
And then the next one, you must correct my name there. Is Musina with a U, not Masina. I know your computer types my name a lot. I have the special economics. Otherwise, I'll be charged and say this guy is corrupt.
Okay, I'd like to make a comment on this. Okay, after you read it.
Please do.
Furthermore, in terms of the Musina
yeah,
special economic zone, there should be a focus on coordinated interventions to ensure its credibility, community inclusion, and delivery on socio-economic goals.
All right, if I may, Chair, I went up to the proposed site of the MMSEZ in January with my colleague, our spokesman on agriculture, and I wrote a letter to the Minister detailing our concerns, which I'm happy to share with the committee, and he responded by requesting a report on our visit, which I have completed and will be sending to him today or tomorrow. I'll share that with the committee. The main concern regarding this MMSEZ is that it is in conflict with the new strategy of the department, focusing on diversification, decarbonization, and digitization, because essentially what it is, it's a massive new coal field, basically, and making steel. What I'd like to suggest is that instead of saying what the current paragraph says, it should be, in terms of the Messina-Mercado Special Economic Zone, there should be a review of the economic assumptions upon which the zone was developed. And its alignment with the department's strategy of decarbonization, diversification, and digitization. So that essentially will come up in in the review that we've asked them to present in the previous paragraph.
Okay, it's a pity, Mr. Chance. I with due respect, I respect the fact that you are privileged. The last time I interacted with that was a long time ago. I don't even remember what they do there. So we in this will then rely on you and the fact that you'll also share that report with the portfolio committee so that we are aware.
I'll send it tomorrow because I'm going to be jumping on a plane soon. I'll send it tomorrow. I'll copy the committee chair secretary so that he can send it out to everybody, the report that I'm submitting to Mr. Tao, Minister Tao, as well as my original letter.
Okay. So can we carry this, colleagues, so that we can move?
Can I continue, Chair?
So we are including. So can you just read again? Let's be sure.
Furthermore, in terms of the Messina-Mercado Special Economic Zone, there should be a review of the economic assumptions upon which the zone was developed and is aligned with DTIC's strategy of diversification, decarbonization, and digitalization.
Okay. So and then on the side, then Mr. Chance will share with us whatever findings that are there. So that in future, if someone says, "What are you talking about?" we're able then to defend the committee with regards to facts that were forwarded to the department. I'm happy with that.
No problem, Chair. I'll continue. Notwithstanding the adjustment introduced for the amended 24-25 annual performance plan, the committee was concerned by the relative low levels of achievement of DTIC's second and third quarter key performance indicators. It noted that the DTIC had achieved only 63.8% of its second quarter and 70% of its third quarter key performance targets, which indicate moderate performance. While this was an important improvement over the period, nearly 1/3 of its target has not been achieved, suggesting persistent weakness in program execution and planning. In particular, it noted the transformation and competition program had only achieved one of its 7 key performance indicators in the third quarter, which raised concerns about the pace of substantive transformation. It encouraged the DTIC to implement measures to address its performance going forward. In particular, the committee urged the DTIC to implement corrective measures to address unachieved KPIs, particularly in the transformation and industrial development portfolios. In addition, it proposed that DTIC should consider implementing quarterly tracking and remedial planning sessions with senior management.
Okay. So we've checked these percentages to be accurate, Zogwanda.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, members. Yes, Chair.
Okay. So we can effectively carry this if the numbers are correct, because the argument is sustained. I was just worried about the numbers. If we have that, I think I'm easy. I'm easy with that. We can move.
The committee welcomed the progress that DTIC Group has been making to resolve the vacancy rate at the senior management level, as well as other governance-related appointments within entities. The committee urged that the DTIC and its entities to develop a retention strategy focused on competitive remuneration, career development, and conducive work environments. It also requested that the DTIC continues to update it on progress in this regard. It also requested that the DTIC and its entities must provide a comprehensive report to the committee within 6 months, detailing all vacant critical posts, recruitment timelines, and budget alignments to ensure the rapid filling of these posts.
Did we, the last paragraph, did we not already receive this report? I think we did, if you can remind us. And then we set up a time frame of 6 months for filling of all the critical vacancies, including the board, the department, and entities. Can you just, can you recall?
I know we, in terms, Chair, we did receive information last year about the status of these things, but I will be, I have to double check, Chair. Maybe when we come back, I will confirm whether this is indeed correct, Chair.
Okay. Any other comments? Then I'm fine. As long as you can, so that it doesn't appear as a duplicate, then I'll be fine with it. And then, but if you find that we're furnished with that information, you just delete the last part that talks about those, and rather we then call for the reports in terms of what we should be expecting as a portfolio committee.
Yes, yeah, Chair.
Thank you very much. We can move.
The committee stressed the importance of employment stability, particularly for skilled scientists at its technical infrastructure institutions such as the National Metrology Institute of South Africa. Persistent high vacancy rates and high staff turnover rates could have a detrimental impact on institutional capacity and consequently on the economy and other areas of society. It therefore urged the DTIC to work with these entities to ensure the stability and sustainability.
So why don't we use the word technical skills so that we can cover all a broad range, including scientific, economics, blah, infrastructure, blah, blah, blah.
We can, Chair.
Yeah. You just say technical skills so that if they are, it covers everybody. Otherwise, you know, we will be talking for a specific institution. Yeah. So let's just say technical institute. And then do we want to address this National Metrology Institute of SA? Do you want to address it specifically on this point, or it's a generic point we're raising?
Chair, I do think that the NISA is the one that is most threatened by vacancies. Though I do think it's worth including it, highlighting it particularly.
Yeah, and then maybe we can say an other who are similarly affected, something like that, so that we don't belabor the point.
That's fine with me.
Okay.
Of South Africa, Margo, yeah, there, come on.
Chair,
yeah.
Chair, the question will be why we mention NEMISA specifically. I mean, the fact of the matter is that there are many entities that, since our meeting early last year, still remain without permanent staff, senior staff, remain without constituted boards. We were assured last year, and the process started, that the boards were advertised and so on, but there have been very few where the vacancies have been filled and boards have been properly composed. If I was working for NEMISA, I would be concerned, and actually, for lack of a better word, hate that we are mentioned specifically, and then other institutions are included as other institutions. I think we should rather refer to all entities. maybe not by name, but refer to all entities.
Okay.
That would be my view. I think it's just prejudicial to NEMISA to mention them specifically.
No, I think there is a point. Then it means we must also delete the infrastructure. We must just say technical skills and leave infrastructure institutions, because then it's suggestive. And then we should be fine. You just talk about technical skills across all entities, kind of.
Sorry, can I just suggest something? I think I go along with Mr. Gagaba's suggestion, and I think it's important that we are highlighting the technical infrastructure institutions per se here. Because remember that it's the third pillar. There's the regulatory bodies, there's the technical institutions, and there's the DFIs. And I think what we're doing here is we're highlighting the technical infrastructure institutions, which is where the technical skills are particularly crucial. So I would suggest that we retain that.
Okay.
But just remove reference to MNISA and just talk about all the institutions.
We have done so, Chair. The DTIC, particularly at the technical infrastructure institutions, so it will be all inclusive.
Okay. Then we together. We're moving towards the end now.
The committee specifically, shall I continue, Chair? Sorry.
Yeah.
Committee specifically noted the continued underspending in key programs, particularly within the investment and spatial industrial development, incentives and research programs. In the second quarter, there was an underspending of 6.4%, and in the third quarter, it was 3.8%. Underspending was more notable in the incentives, investment and spatial industrial development and exports program. These trends, despite mid-year adjustments, could reflect inefficiencies in project pipeline development or delays in project implementation, internal processing, poor planning, or lack of interagency coordination. It encouraged the DTIC to limit its underspending, particularly in terms of incentive programs, to ensure that it maximizes the benefit of government spending to the economy. Furthermore, it urged the DTIC to urgently improve its financial forecasting and projection delivery frameworks to prevent a repeat of these inefficiencies. It emphasized that there should be a clear remedial timelines and consequent management mechanism implemented where there is persistent underperformance.
Any comments? I'm fine with this. Zongwanda, we've checked the figures as well.
We double check the figures, Chair, as well.
Yeah. Oh.
Okay, that's fine. And then let's go to the last one, the recommendations.
There are three recommendations, Chair, for the committee to consider. The committee recommends that the House request the Minister of Trade and Industry and Competition should consider fast-tracking the finalization of the National Industrial Policy Framework. Shall I read all three, Chair, or shall I just go one by one?
Yeah.
Initiating
a
review into the effectiveness of the broad-based Black economic empowerment regulatory framework and its impact on investment, business growth, job creation, innovation, new market entrants, and the levels of competitiveness in the economy. Engaging the Ministers of Justice and Constitutional Development and on Agriculture to determine a roadmap with clear timeframes to table the relevant legislative amendments to unlock commercialization of hemp and cannabis for Parliament's consideration. It should submit a report regarding the development of a roadmap within 3 months of adoption of this report.
You can engage with the three recommendations. Is it a policy framework or a policy in national industrial policy?
I will double check, but I think it's a national policy framework, Chair, but we'll verify, Chair.
Okay, let's verify that.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry, I'm just a little confused because I sent through, again, probably a problem with the email, but I sent through a list of recommendations, which is quite long, 11 actually, 12 recommendations. And obviously, I don't know what happened. Maybe Sequanda can try and explain how these got lost.
Shall I speak to that, Chair?
Yeah, please do.
A number of those mentioned recommendations was included as part of the in concluding remarks and not recommendations in terms of the procedural considerations that we took, Mr. Chance. So it's all was considered by us, and most of the stuff was concluding remarks rather than a formal recommendation.
Okay,
And
one thing that wasn't included.
Yeah, sorry, Mr. Chance. I see the one that you had intimated earlier on the broad-based Black economic empowerment is there.
The blues are all the blues are the Democratic Alliance proposals.
So of the 11, 2 are there.
Yes.
Yeah. So are you saying to me, Andre, that essentially you've taken all the recommendations and most of them you've actually just inserted into the conclusions? Is that what you've done?
Yes, that's correct. It's more concluding remarks than formal recommendations, Mr. Chance. From
I understand.
a perspective. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm just reading through them now.
Okay.
So
nothing has been lost from your
yeah.
submission.
No, I see what you've done. Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Okay.
Okay. Just one other thing. One thing which you haven't included is number 12, which is the entity-wide whistleblower policy.
Oh, we need to clarify that with the DTIC chair because we thought there may have been already a whistleblowing. But my colleagues can come in here, Margaret and Sequanda, where we need to clarify with DTIC surrounding that policy because there was a view that such a policy exists already. So we just need to clarify. But Margaret and Sequanda can also come in, Chair.
Okay.
So, Chair, I think part of the challenge was that the whistleblowing policy was not necessarily discussed as part of this meeting. So that was the one issue. And the other issue is that the department had indicated that they do have these policies in place. So without the discussion in the body, it does make it difficult to bring it in as a recommendation without any context.
So does this report include the presentation of yesterday? Because yesterday it doesn't.
No, not at all, Chair.
Oh, okay. Because yesterday they did speak about the 60 days, Mr. Chan. We spoke about it. No, that's fine. Then, well, we can still go back in the next round. Just on that policy of 60 days. Then we are fine. Can we officially now get the mover and seconder, because this is now a decision that has been worked out throughout with regard to this, so that we can move forward? Can I now officially get the mover?
I'll move, Chair.
Member Chance move the seconder for the adoption of this report and its conclusion and recommendations.
I second, Chair. Malus.
Thank you very much. The report is duly adopted by the committee, and there are no different views, and we take it that the report has gone through. We will now take a 20-minute or so break. The time is 1:45. 1:05, we will join. You are welcome to, if you've got data like myself, to leave it on, and then you'll come back at 1:20, but please mute so that we don't hear your home activities there, colleagues, in the process. Because it's an official meeting.
Could I just say something quickly?
Yes.
I'm actually getting a shuttle to the airport at 1:30. So I hope that we'll be able to. I can still listen in, but I hope that we'll be able to get the second report done before I have to switch off.
Yeah,
no problem. We will try.
Okay, can you try to be quick, just to integrate those issues, and then call us just to indicate if let's not log off, so that we're all here. It helps when we're here.
We'll do so, Chair. We'll do so. Give us 10 minutes, 15 minutes at least. Thanks.
Okay, perfect. Let's not log off then. Let's just switch off cameras and mics so that we don't
Are we going to do it on the platform quickly, guys?
Andre.